Steve, do you see things in the development of Western society that may have contributed to or led to the materialism and consumerism we see in the West today?
Well, of course, the development of Western society, you're talking about a huge stream of things. There's one focal point that I think is very interesting that maybe helps us see what our attitudes towards property are and how they're different from maybe a more healthy way of looking at property. There's a guy named William of Ockham who was a Franciscan in the 1300s. And the Franciscan order of Ockham's time was involved in a dispute. It was the generation or 2 generations past, so maybe 3 generations past, the original genius of Francis, who had preached poverty and embracing poverty. And there was a division in Ockham's order between those who wanted to just go ahead and own property, own these houses that they would live in, own the lands that you needed to support them in order to carry forth the work of the Franciscan order, and those who said, no, we've been called to poverty. The trouble was, the ones who said, no, we've been called to poverty, didn't really want to do what Francis wanted to do, because they wanted to have all the lands and all the houses and have use of them, but they wanted the Pope to own them, so that they themselves would, technically speaking, own nothing. Now, that group was called the Spirituals, and Ockham was a spiritual. And he worked out a theology and a philosophy of property ownership, in which the ownership of property and its use are disconnected, where owning something is simply it's simply nominal. It's simply a matter of a label that's applied to something, who has ownership of it, whereas who had use of it could be completely different. Now, under Roman law, this is not possible. Under Roman law, which Europe of his day was still influenced by, the ownership of something and its at least potential use had to go together. If you completely surrendered the use of something to someone else, you were surrendering the ownership of it. But in order to work out this legal fiction of poverty, without actually doing what Francis did, which is really not care where your next meal is coming from, and whether you have a roof over your head, Ockham had to work out this private property, this property ownership, as disconnected from utility. And that has a real effect, because if what you own isn't limited anymore by what is possible for you to use, or what you can use, then where's the limit to it? There isn't any. You can just keep getting and getting and getting, and you keep adding up the things you're able to affix this label to: mine, 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 without any necessary connection to what you can actually do in your life. As I said, I think we're called to a purposeful creativity. There's a purpose to the way that we creatively use this and exist in this world. And I don't want to stick all of Western materialism on Ockham's shoulders, because certainly there's many a slip twixt a cup and the lip, and what he was saying and where we are today. But that is a very key change, that ownership simply has to do with how widely you can spread your stamp, and not with what you can actually do with your life.